Hey, welcome back, everyone. It's time for session 2. That break went quickly. I can tell you that break went quickly because I'm desperately trying to put my own presentation together. So it went quicker than I wanted it to. So we're back with Amanda, who's going to talk about Let's Go Beyond eLearning. So I'm really looking forward to this. So without further ado, it's a 30-minute session, so I will hand over straight away.
All right, let's do this. I'm just going to share my screen. Share screen. Whoop. One moment. I'm going to switch that. Okay, all good? Let me just check. Okay, fantastic. I see the thumbs up. All right, 30 minutes. I am trying my best to squeeze everything in, so I'll just take you through. So today, the main purpose of my session is to really trying to inspire LXDs, instructional designers, anyone in the learning community to really go beyond e-learning as a solution for when their projects pop up and whatnot. So I'll take you first through quickly a bit about me, and then I'll take you through the show, which is a learning design competition that I entered last year. And I went through 6 briefs, and it gave me 6 different opportunities to really flesh and rack my brain to figure out what kind of solutions I could design and create that are outside of e-learning. And then I'll take you through a process and an approach that I personally use called the LXD Canvas by Niels Floors, which is amazing. And that would hopefully, spark some creative juices when you're thinking of creating a learning solution. And it's also the approach as to how I came up with the solutions. And then I'll share with you some nice tips around how to create engaging solutions. And then finally, some time for questions. All right, this is so weird because 1, I can't see my face, and 2, I can't see the chat, so I'm just talking to my screen, exactly like Phil. So my name is Amanda Nguyen. I'm a learning experience designer based in Sydney, Australia. If you have seen my work on LinkedIn before, I am quite animated in terms of the colors and the brightness, and I just love bright, vivid colors when it comes to learning solutions. So majority of things that I do includes e-learning development, animations, any kind of digital learning experiences. I play a bit of it within the VR and AR space as well, which is quite fun. But when I'm not getting my learning experience design hat on, you can find me doing a lot of art or experiencing the outdoors and stalking llamas, because I absolutely am obsessed with llamas. I want to quickly show you my llama cup. For today. But the first 2 images is I'm actually a graffiti artist. So I've been doing graffiti for the past 12 years. And this is probably why you can see the correlation with my design style and the colors that I usually choose. So that was a charity car that I spray painted a Toy Story theme. And it was a rally car. So they were racing around in a nice little oval with other cars as well. So it was pretty cool. But enough about me. So now I will take you through the show. So the show was last year a learning design competition. It was hosted globally at the Learning Conference by the amazing Kim Tui and Kath Ellis, who are based in Australia. They selected 64 participants around the world to enter in this competition. There were 6 briefs and lots of sleepless nights for me personally. And I know that a lot of the contestants had sleepless nights as well. So this is how it went down. It was 32 versus 32, 16, 16, 8, 8, 4, 4 quarterfinals, 2 versus 2, and 1 versus 1. So I am going to rip the Band-Aid off, and I'll let you guys know that I came second. I didn't come first, I came second. I'm very proud. Second is still great, but the person that came first and took out the title of the best global learning experience design of the year is Shirlene Wong. So go do support her, follow her on LinkedIn, check out her work because it is bloody brilliant. I do love Shirlene, she's amazing. So now what I'm going to do is take you through each of the rounds and the briefs to give you an understanding of some of the constraints of the briefs and what you can create and what I created as part of the solution. So the first brief is an L&D manager for Liberty City needs a learning solution for members of the general public to learn more about COVID-19. So my solution was an approachable and conversational chatbot named Lisa. So here is Lisa. I mocked Lisa up. And the great thing about this conversational chatbot is that you can embed it directly onto Liberty City's website, keeping in mind that they don't have a learning management system, so you can scrap e-learning out of your mind. You are not using an e-learning as a solution in here. And also it's accessible via WhatsApp and also Facebook Messenger as well. And I wanted to make sure that this chatbot had the capability of being there 24/7, instantaneously obtaining resources for the user. And also the great thing about using a chatbot like this is you can get continual data feeding through into Lisa and in the backend for the L&D manager to segment and dissect, okay, the general public need more information on X, Y, and Z. The general public need more information on this and that. So with this chatbot as well, you could embed lots of media, rich media. You can embed videos, you can embed images, direct link to maps, which is pretty fantastic. So the tool that I used to build the chatbot is called landbot.io right here. So this is the tool that I used, and it's a no-code chatbot builder. So the amazing thing about this website is that you do not need to be a software developer. You don't need to have any knowledge of any coding. All you need is really a mind map of the kinds of questions that might be coming through and providing those questions for that and answers for that. And in saying that, it's just about getting the right data coming in through to Lisa, your chatbot, and you build it over time. So you build that knowledge base over time. There are some alternative tools to landbot.io that I found for you guys. So the first one is flowexo.com, which is also, so all of these three alternative tools are no-code chatbot builders, which is fantastic, and has similar, different similar traits as Landbot.io, being integrated in various things and spots. Troy Ashman actually embedded Landbot.io. Troy Ashman is an amazing instructional designer, e-learning developer. He embedded Landbot into Storyline and had a chatbot in Storyline. So do go check out his website if you're curious as to how you can embed a chatbot into Storyline. It's pretty cool. So we have Botsify and also www.chatbot.com, literally chatbot.com, which is pretty cool. So have a play around with those tools. I've actually created a chatbot in my previous workplace to have an internal learning and development chatbot just to help us find our resources, our project management templates and tools that always go missing or are in knee deep in various folder files and file paths. So we had a chatbot that I named Ariel the Mermaid, and we had her there sitting inside our intranet on our SharePoint page, and she just popped up. We needed to find a project manager tool. We'll just type it into Ariel. Hey, Ariel, can you find the L&D project management template? Bam, and we had it right there and then. So there's lots of different capabilities and ways that you can use a chatbot as part of a solution. Next one, we have a not-for-profit LGBTI organization called LGBT Collective looking for a budget learning solution to help focus on the health and well-being of their team members. So for this brief, my solution, I designed a collection of well-being jam session kits for LGBTI Collective employees to host and participate in. And really this jam session kit included an interactive presentation. So I'll show you in detail what that looks like. As an employee of LGBTI Collective, you would get access to a kit. And in that kit, if you're a host, you will get a checklist. And that checklist would help you, what you need to do before the jam session, what you need to do during the jam, and then after the jam session. So the purpose of these jam session kits, anyone within the organization would be able to pick this up, access the link, and really experience the interactive presentation. So the tool that I use to create the interactive presentation is called Mentimeter. So I'll show you all of the tools afterwards, but I'll take you through the capabilities of what this tool can do. So you can create just a normal presentation, but add a lot of interactivity on top of this presentation. You can share this link out to your audience or your learners. They can access it through www.menti.com and you'll get a unique code. They'll punch in that unique code and they'll be able to experience the presentation on their phone while they're listening to you present. You can add on different interactions. So similar to the conference where you're hearting and sending, smiley and laughing emojis, you can mimic that on here as well. And the great thing that I love about these, cloud-based apps is that all the rich data that you're getting from the interactions of the employees, you could, get live employee input through multiple choices, word clouds, open-ended questions, scales, ranking image choices, and Q&As. You can also add in, a fun element of quizzes. They could select an answer, type in answers, let the employees compete with each other. And you can also just have content on the slide so they can react and follow along on their device. So for me, having a website that could allow you to create an interactive presentation after the session's done, you have all this data layered in the back end as an administrator. You can go in and see how many people were confused on the slide. So you can actually put an emoji on here of a confused face as well, which is really nice to see which slides were, okay, this maybe was too much information, or for example here, what are your expectations for this jam session? You can really understand people's expectations and map that data out there to really create a nice story to understand. And then as a participant, you'll just be able to follow along the presentation, get involved, share your thoughts in the comfort of your own space. So for all of the dispersed and hybrid working teams or remote workers, they could just access this on their phone or their tablet or laptop or desktop. After the session, what I included in the pack was a curated practical resource. So this is their little takeaway. I thought to make sure that it's a sustainable solution, that it should be a live Google Doc or a live OneDrive PowerPoint presentation, where as a facilitator or a trainer or whoever's running these sessions and curating the resources, they can continually add in the resources and the link won't break. So just a simple little takeaway there. Whoop. Oh no, my computer's lagging. Oh, no, oh good, got it. So interactive presentation solution, the tool that I used again was Mentimeter. Now, alternative tools, I found some really cool tools that mimic exactly what Mentimeter does. WooClap is one, Aha Slides, and Quiz is a pretty cool one as well. I should actually send you guys a one-page PDF of all these tools that I use with this slide deck as well. So don't worry if you don't write it down, and if I'm moving too fast, you'll get access to this. Round 3. Okay, so round 3, the brief was a global engineering company called Lex Corp is looking for a storyboard template to create a consistent approach in learning design for their global team. What I created based on their branding is an interactive PDF that included a one-page project overview that consists of learning objectives, success measures, learning design roadmaps, and responsibilities. For me personally, I think it's so important to ensure that you bring all your stakeholders that are included in the project on the same journey and that everyone's understanding their clear roles. I think that's definitely so important. And on top of that, you don't need a 10-page document. This is my personal opinion. I've worked in many, many projects before, and I think that when you keep it simple and something And along the way, if a stakeholder pulls out of the project and you get a new stakeholder in, you want to be able to provide them with a document where they can see clearly, understand where we're at, and also understands everyone's responsibilities. So just to quickly zoom in, the interactivity comes in through the little question marks. So you can design this in InDesign. So all of my interactive PDFs are designed in InDesign. You can add little prompts and tips of, okay, if a stakeholder comes in, they don't understand what the purpose of a learning objective is, you can even add a little nice note when they hover over the question mark. The purpose of a learning objective is X, Y, and Z, or project sponsor. What does that even mean? I can hover over that and it'll define what a project sponsor is. So I thought that was a really nice way to consolidate this project plan approach for instructional designers or learning lead solutions or solutioneers that are going out and owning a project or leading a project. And then also a storyboarding section. So for the interactive PDF, the tool that I use to create this is Adobe InDesign and Adobe Acrobat DC. So there are many ways to create an interactive PDF. This is just my personal approach that I find effective. I love InDesign because it's such an intuitive tool to be able to work with a blank canvas and really design and create the look and aesthetics and the look and feel of how you'd like to create a document. And you can then go over into Adobe Acrobat to add in the interactions. I usually build the interactions within InDesign, but if you are just looking for creating a beautiful document without using InDesign, you can do it in Illustrator. You can even design it in PowerPoint presentation and then export it as a PDF and layer in the interactions using Adobe Acrobat DC. You can even do it in Microsoft Word as well, and export that as a PDF and then move that into Adobe Acrobat DC to add in over your interactions. Other alternative tools, if you don't want to use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, or Acrobat DC, you can use some pretty cool tools called Issuu, so issuu.com, or Flipsnack, and they have interactive PDF capabilities as well. Next page. Okay. All right, cool. I'm 15 minutes in. I'm on track. Round 4, quarterfinals. A restaurant chain called Hot Noodle are looking for a 5-minute bullying and harassment compliance module. This was a really fun one for me. This is probably one of my favorite briefs because it is actually really hard to create any compliance, anything within 4 or 5 minute experience, because I think by default, when you hear the word compliance module, you're like, oh, e-learning. Oh my God, it's going to be 45 minutes long or 30 minutes long. So this was a really fun challenge. And what really helped this solution for me was the branding. So the guys that created the brief had a really cool logo for Hot Noodle. So that's why my solution was very colorful. So what I created for a 5-minute experience, I designed a scenario-based game that allows staff to identify behaviors and acts of bullying and harassment. So there's 2 parts to this experience. The first being the interactive game, the scenario-based game. And the second part is the call to action, because I truly believe in having a continual learning experience as opposed to a one-off tick box exercise. So I'll take you through the learning design approach that I focused on. I really wanted to create some personalization. So as a user, you can type in your name and the game will be speaking directly to you. I focused on some decision-making and consequential feedback. I think that's a great way to highlight the positive behaviors that we're trying to enforce. I use flat illustrations, so it's engaging and it's my style. I do love flat illustrations. And I really wanted to focus on a conversational tone. I added in some gamification elements as well. So like some scoring in the top there, just basic gamification elements. And then after a learner or a user has completed the 5-minute game, or maybe 4.5-minute game to make it a 5-minute experience, they would then, the game would then take them through to the last page, which is the call to action. So the call to action here, I created a virtual commitment board using Padlet, and it's a really fun commitment board where you could just type in, how you'll be committed to creating a safe and positive workplace. You can add in a little commitment there, add in some images, and also read what other team members have shared on that Padlet page as well. So I thought that was a neat little call to action there. And then if they required more information, more technical information, or let's say a policy or a legislation based on the government with bullying and harassment, they could click there and it would take them to an infographic or a policy. So to create a mini game or quiz, the things that I use Genially. I cannot pronounce it, but it is an awesome website. Do check it out. You can create some fun games on there, quizzes, interactive, infographics that could be hosted and embedded anywhere, which is pretty cool. And it's also responsive, which is fun. And for the graphics, I use Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, which I did not put in there. My bad. And Padlet. So Padlet is where I created the virtual commitment board. So you can access that, play around with it, create your boards, and yeah, whoever has access to that link, they can then post on that board. Alternative tools, you can use Articulate Storyline to create what I created. Yep, so mini e-learning, but let's just call it a mini game, not an e-learning. Involve.me is another really cool interactive content builder tool. And again, to create a really fun quiz, you can use Quiz.is as well, which I mentioned earlier. Round 5, semifinals. Okay, so a brief called Fresh. Oh my gosh, my brain just farted. A supermarket called Fresh is looking for a just-in-time solution to communicate their workplace policies to their employees. So what I've created is an intuitive knowledge base to centralize the workplace policies and improve communication. I'm an absolute knowledge base nerd. I think every organization should have an internal knowledge base system or approach or plan or method. It's just a great way to consolidate all of the bits and bobs in the HR space, if anything. So for example, here we have, the code of conduct, health and safety, parental leave, etc. This knowledge-based tool that I use is called Alevio. So I'll take you through the tools afterwards. But this mock-up, it's called HR Assist. So as an employee, I can go directly to HR Assist and type in, okay, I'm a new parent. How much parental leave do I get? And it would automatically pop up. The cool thing about these knowledge bases, if it embeds into an organization, is that they usually come with a chatbot or a virtual intelligent assistant to help you. And it's usually a pop-up function in the bottom corner there. So where you see the lovely little leaf, that's where you can access the virtual assistant. The great thing about this knowledge base as well is that there's search functions, it's responsive to all devices, you can embed rich media. So for example, rather than giving an employee a whole list of things and dot points and content on parental leave, if there's a quick video, you can embed that in there as well. And with the red dots, so a lot of policies in organizations, there's always updates. There could be maybe 2 to 3 updates a month, or maybe up to 50 updates if there's so many iterations on a policy. This is a great way to just completely update those policies in the back end without it impacting the user experience. That's why I love knowledge bases. Now, another little addition to make sure that it's accessible for employees that are on the floor, that's the purpose of this brief, is to make sure that it's just in time. I decided to add in a QR code, like a QR code sticker on the staff IDs. So for example, here, I'm going to name him Ted. Ted might be working in the warehouse and all he has access to is his phone or a tablet at work. He could just pull out his lanyard, look at his ID card, scan it, and it will take him directly to HR Assist. So that's why I really, really love knowledge bases. Yeah. Okay, so for internal knowledge base solution, some of the tools that you can use. For this specifically, I use Alevio. Alevio was just acquired by Dixa, but still the same tool. You can have a play around with that.
Hey, Amanda, sorry, we can't actually hear you.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I hit mute on my my mic. Can you hear me now?
There you go. That's all right. We can hear you now.
Okay, I talk with my hands. I've been waving around too much. My bad. Round 6, grand final. So Unity Bank are looking for an innovative approach to convert 50 boring Flash-based e-learning courses to a new supported format. So if you were aware, last year, Flash was dead, gone. By December, nothing would be compatible with Flash anymore. So I created Project Phoenix. The brief is to really provide an innovative approach. It isn't to provide, how do you really convert 50 courses to something flash and pretty. It was just really about providing a game plan. So for me, Project Phoenix is about leaving the long and repetitive courses in the ashes and rise the phoenix of innovation. I've created a strategic game plan for Unity Bank to go from 50 Flash courses to a culture of learning. So I'll show you what that looks like. So my approach was focused on the human-centered design approach, and I hope that Hannah is in this session because she is going to run a human-centered design approach session in this conference, I think on the 3rd day, so do check her session out. But in the game plan here, I used Notion, and what I really wanted to create for this L&D project manager to run this project is to provide all of the resources that he needs to onboard people onto this project, and also to break down the 3 different phases of inspiration, ideation, and implementation of the design thinking and human-centered approach method, with all of the workshops that are included in there, how to run a workshop to, think about, let's say, if we're dissecting one e-learning out of 50, and the first e-learning is around bribery and corruption. Let's say it's 30 minutes long, it's outdated, what do we do? So running these human-centered design workshops, you can test with your audience and test with your learners that, is this e-learning even still relevant? Could we do this in another way? And maybe it turns out that an infographic would suffice. So you've just shaved off 30 minutes of an e-learning and bung it together in a beautiful infographic that is probably more relevant to the learner themselves. So using the human-centered design approach, you could actually experience different kinds of workshops and methods and approaches to really help pinpoint and figure out what kind of solutions will fit best to convert those 50 boring, drab e-learning to a nice experience. So I use Notion to, curate all of those different types of methods and approaches with guides and processes. I thought it was a nice way to help the project manager onboard their new people to come in on the project, as well as finding out ways on how to create an engaging solution. Oh, I have 3 minutes left. Okay, so tools that I use, Notion. If you want to know more about human-centered design approaches and the tools and the workshops on how to run those kind of workshops, go to designkit.org. It is a must. It is all of the workshops and tools that I personally access to make sure that I'm running some really cool, fun workshops. Your go-to. Also go to toolbox.hyperisland.com. It's also another design thinking toolbox kit that you can access. And another project management tool that will be similar to Notion would be asana.com. Okay, so just quickly, I really, really want to share this with you because I love Niels. A few years ago, I went over to the Netherlands to experience his masterclass course on LXD and what that entailed. So that was really, really insightful. For me, I think he's a pioneer in learning experience design. I learned a lot of my approaches and my methodologies in how to create and craft an engaging learning solution through Niels. So do go stalk him on LinkedIn. He has a whole community. But this is the canvas. So I'll quickly take you through the canvas. It starts with your user and solving the problem. So what problem you're trying to solve, you need to identify the learning outcomes and the objectives. And then we go into the who and the what. So who is your intended audience? What role do they play? What are their needs, their wants, motivations, and their pain points? And then when you move into the characteristics, this is where you can map out your persona. So based on your interviews and your research, you can create a clear picture of who you are designing the solution for. And then we move over to the where. So in what way does the environment enable and disable learning? How do we interact with each other in the environment? Is it currently a remote or hybrid workplace for the learners? Where is the learning going to take place? Is it virtual, face-to-face? And then you'll be able to move down to the quadrants of assessing your resources, such as budgets, the skill sets that are available, and really what resources are available to help you create these learning solutions or ideas. And then the constraints, what are the main limitations that might affect this learning experience? So now that you have, your insights, then we get into the how. How can you combine what you've learned so far and formulate a practical guideline for the design of your learning experience? Then we move down to the bottom. So now the fun stuff, the activities. So what kind of learning interactions or learning activities can we brainstorm to help craft this learning experience? That would also help the learner reach the outcomes. Then finally, the process. So when will the learning activities and interactions take place to create a learning experience over time? Is the process a 15-minute bite-sized learning module, or is it a 2-hour workshop, or is it a 3-month experience? As long as the order and the duration of the activities are clear, you'll be able to map out what the process looks like for this continual learning experience. So the result, something that I put into action when I was working at Lendlease, my previous workplace, my first week that I started, I got handed a 5-day workshop and I got told, okay, make it magical, go for it, do something with it, don't care what you do, fix it. I'm like, okay, I'll fix it, I'll have a look at it. So it was a 5-day workshop for a sales team, and we basically put all the guys and the gals into the room 5 days, 8 to 5, 5 days a week, learning about sales practices, sales, all the tools that they use as part of the onboarding for the team. So the first thing that I did within that week was to go out and interview a lot of the sales managers, sales execs, and the sales agents to really understand, their feedback on their experience with the 5-day workshop. And I found that all they really wanted was to get the tools in their hands, practice it, and really have like a fun group session to debrief. That's really all they wanted. So what I did was created an interactive toolkit using InDesign. So I created an interactive PDF. I designed a small bite-sized e-learning module that really showcased real live examples from these sales managers and sales agents on how they use the tools in the workshop. And we paired this with a monthly group coaching session. And it was so much more better in terms of the learning experience compared to the 5-day workshop. Okay, quick tips. Some tips for designing learning solutions. Firstly, bring your stakeholders on a journey. You, as an awesome learning designer, I'm sure could sit and create, let's say, a really fun augmented reality experience. You think it's going to hit, you think it's going to land, but you have 5 stakeholders in the project team that have no idea what you're going on about. So always bring your stakeholders on a journey. I like to take them on the journey when I'm starting the learning experience design canvas, just to map out, or even with the project plan as well, making sure that you bring everyone on board, they understand their clear responsibilities. Explore new tools. There's many, many tools out there, authoring tools specifically. There's so many cool new authoring tools that are popping up in the scene at the moment. Give it a crack, I think it's nice to have a couple of tools under your belt outside of, let's say, Storyline, Lectora, or whatever you're using. Have fun with it. Have a game plan, again, either using the design thinking approach, human-centered design approach. I think nowadays more than ever in our role, we're blending in a lot of like the design and the engineering and the sciences into our field. Mix it all up and maybe create your own game plan and your own approach in how you develop solutions. Problem solve first. Please test with your audience. You could sit and create an amazing solution, but if it doesn't land with your audience because you didn't test, might be some problems there. And finally, have fun. That's it. Okay, that was a really rough half-an-hour session.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I think it seems like why did we cram this into half an hour? There was a
I'm
last
so
minute
sorry.
change in schedule here. Amanda, you were going to go and enjoy some time away, weren't you? But sadly, you
I
were
was going to go
unable
to the
due
snows.
to
Yeah, I was going to go
yes.
to the snows, and COVID hit, and now I'm here.
Absolutely. So literally, Amanda has stepped in at the last minute to come and present for us today. So thank you ever so much. That was awesome. If you want to share that PDF with everything, because loads of people in the Q&A asking where are all the links? Where can I get this stuff? Send it over, and we will get it sent out to everyone on today. Thanks everyone. I'm going to close this down, and we're pretty much immediately going to jump into the next session with Emily Chorley on some advanced storyline interactions.